tonight's common council meeting for November 28th, 2023. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Matsdorf. Here. Penquitz.
Here.
Tauschek.
Present.
Herman.
Here.
Shilsky.
Present.
Gilson. Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is a pledge. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Hildebrand.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Herman.
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Shilsky.
Yes.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion where we ask people to sign in and be recognized. That's where you do the talking and we do the listening. Tonight, no one signed in. We certainly encourage people to come and talk to us and tell us what's on their mind. Item 5 is not needed. No items were removed from the consent agenda. Moving on to item 6, new business. Item A, approval of Sugar Shack donation. And I'll ask our city administrator, Tim Blakesley, to start the conversation off. And as you can see, we have a presentation this evening. So Tim, why don't you start it?
Sure, just very brief on my end, and then Alder Nelson is going to give a presentation. He has an example down there of the Sugar Shack design. But earlier this year, there was a discussion at the Committee of the Whole about including a Sugar Shack at City Park. The direction at that time was to move forward. So Alder Nelson has worked and created the Plymouth Maple Association, which is a nonprofit that's going to operate the Sugar Shack. So should the Common Council accept the donation of the Sugar Shack, we would want to make that contingent on a maintenance and operations agreement with the Plymouth Maple Association. Other than that, I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, thank you. You can see I have a scale model of what is planned for City Park on the desk next to Kathy. I took her place tonight, but when you have time leaving or whatever, please take a look at that if you want. The roof comes off, so, okay. Today I'm just going to talk about the history of maple syrup production very quickly, the purpose of building a shack, where it's to be, we're proposed to be located in City Park, kind of the building design and the budget, which really isn't germane here, but anyway. Actually, the history is pretty interesting that local indigenous tribes produced syrup from maple, birch, and other trees. I don't know how they successfully did that, but it was their only source really of sweetness, and apparently they would boil it down to a point where it sweetened it up and they would use it. And then by the 1800s, European settlers learned from those indigenous people how to make syrup, and of course refine the process with modern pots and pans and all that. Locally, the Drury family, which is south of Plymouth, began producing syrup around 1850 when their family came over from Europe for personal use, and now they're a fairly big commercial operation in making syrup. And Wisconsin is either the third or fourth highest producing maple syrup in the United States. Vermont, I believe, is first. So the purpose is really trying to help educate people about this aspect of agriculture. It is actually an agricultural product. Demonstration site for the annual Plymouth Maple Festival. We're coming into our third year on April 6th of having a festival. Eventually serve as a location where people around town could, tap a tree in their yard and they could bring the syrup there and get it cooked off and give them back some syrup or whatever. Just kind of include people in the whole activity in the community. I think anything we can do to stimulate Plymouth or pride in the community is a good thing. There's potential to raise funds actually for public use. There's a city in Michigan, Shepherd, Michigan, that actually funds their entire recreational program in the city on selling maple they produce in that city as a group. And what I think is really interesting is that the construction class at Plymouth High School is going to be heavily involved in actually cutting the timbers and building this structure, which I think is pretty neat. Okay, down. As you can see, here's students from Riverview that come over the last 2 springs to tap trees in City Park. We collected roughly 35 gallons of sap and made actually a couple gallon, or about a gallon of syrup from that sap. The kids seem to enjoy coming out there. They're very well behaved. Always impressed me that a great group of kids. But it's a good thing for them to see what's going on. Okay, next. The one that we're talking about here, and it's on the front table there, is a traditional New England style sugar shack. This one would be 18 feet by 24 feet with the cupola. The reason you have that cupola on top is to open up the doors on either side of that and let the steam escape. As you probably know, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. So in essence, you have to evaporate off 39 gallons of water. It would be timber frame construction, mortise and tenon for the most part, board and batten exterior, as you can see on the model, concrete base. Intend to use solar power to light the facility. Not a lot of solar is really needed, but enough to power lights on the inside, maybe the outside. I think it's going to be actually 6 windows and 2 barn doors. This is what it looks like in the wild. This is my personal one that I built this year. Up in the upper left is, the concrete base, similar to a garage where you have 12 inches of concrete with reinforcement bar around the edge and 4 inches in the middle. Build the timber frame structure, side it with, in this case, probably either be white pine or hemlock, and finish it off. This is our budget we've come up with, in total roughly $16,000. And that's really not a lot of money, and you consider, all the lumber and stuff, but most of the lumber will be donated timber from various personal properties around the area, ash and maple, and maybe some oak. So that saves a lot in the cost. The labor will be almost all volunteer, so we'll go from there. And of course, we're going out for donations, so anybody that would like to donate can get a hold of me and we'll make that arrangement. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, John. The item is on the council agenda as to approve the donation to, in other words, to accept the donation with the contingency as Tim had noted for the maintenance and operation, which that'll just be a contingent to the motion. So the chair will at this point entertain a motion to approve the donation as mentioned.
I move to approve the Sugar Shack donation.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Penquitz,
Yes.
Mattsdorf,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Shilsky,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, John. Good presentation. Moving on to item B, purchase of F-150 and F-350 for Department of Public Works from Ewell Automotive Group in the amount of $93,527, and truck equipment from Monroe Truck Equipment in the amount of $46,751. Tonight, we have Director Kathy Austin to fill us in on some of the details. Director?
With the budget passing at the last meeting, this is the 2024 capital dollars. We got the quote from Ewald. They hold the state bid for the trucks this year again. And so their deadline to submit for trucks is in a couple weeks, mid-December, to be able to even be eligible for the 2024 purchase. So we'd like to get them in before that deadline to continue to move forward. So it's 2 trucks. One's an F-150 with the lift gate, and then the other one's a F-350 with kind of the aluminum utility boxes for ease of tools and everything on the sides. So those would be the total trucks. The budget allocated $141,500 for the 2 trucks, and the total's coming in at $140,278.
Thank you, Director. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll move that we purchase the F-150 and F-350 from the Ewald Automotive Group for the amount of $93,527, and equipment from Monroe Truck Equipment at the price of $46,751.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschak,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Mattsdorf,
Yes.
Shilsky,
Yes.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Our next items are closed items. We will come back from the closed session and we will have council votes to take for our public audience. Item 7, Chair entertains a motion going to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, paren 1, paren C, And let the record show we're now back in open session. We will be acting on two items in closed session. The first one, Chair will entertain a motion on Resolution 17 establishing the 2024 compensation for non-union employees.
I'll move that we approve Resolution 17, establishing the 2024 compensation for non-union employees.
I'll second the motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Roll call on the first motion, please.
Bankwitz,
Yes.
Shilsky,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Tauschik,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Gilson.
Motion carried. Thank you. Second item, Chair will entertain a motion on the discussion for regarding 3M and DuPont litigation.
I'll make a motion to opt out of 3M and DuPont litigation.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll on opt-out.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Tauschik,
Yes.
Bankwitz,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Shilsky,
Yes.
Gilson, Hildebrand.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Do you feel comfortable signing opt-out?
Let us take a peek.
Okay.
We will see if there's something
I think
legally